back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. For our radio audience tuning in at WYAD 94.1 FM and WYADonline.com here in Mississippi, we're glad that you all can be with us. Also, tuning in online worldwide, thanks to our friends at iHeartRadio and Amazon Music. We're glad you all could be with us as well. With so much going on in the world today, so many times I think we're so busy trying to please others that we can forget about ourselves and how to make sure that we're good for ourselves. Well, our next guest has been able to make it her mission not only help people personally and professionally, but also to show them what's possible for them. We're excited to welcome Dr. Erica Holmes to our broadcast. You may have seen her on television, read her books, but she's a relationship and mental health expert. We're going to talk to her not only about the work that she's been involved in, but what it's been like for her to help people to not only to remember themselves, but also to bring their best selves to life as well. If you guys are not following Dr. Holmes, we'll let you know the best place to be able to find her. But Dr. Holmes, thank you again for the time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me on. It's so important, and I'm excited to be here.
Well, this is, I think, an important conversation that you're kind of able to kind of handle the whole person, Dr. Holmes, which is what I love about the work that you do. I think so many times people get so caught up on relationships, which are important, that they do, forget about themselves sometimes along the way. What has that been like for you and your platform to be able to show them not only the importance of taking care of themselves, but also what it means to truly make themselves available for others?
Right. I think for so many people are taught that a lot of their self-worth and their self-identity comes from doing for others and having others like ingratiated, right? And so they don't see themselves outside of other people. And they don't understand that it all starts with you. And you can't have, whether it's a romantic relationship, a friendship, a parenting relationship, whatever it is, you can't have that if you're not healthy and whole. And also if you're not restored and regenerated. So you have to take time for yourself to restore, to replenish, and also time to really reflect and be introspective and like decide for yourself what your identity is going to be, who you are, and to no relationship or there's nothing else that you want to do that's going to flourish if you yourself are not the best version of you that you can be.
That is such a great point. And Dr. Holmes, for people who have followed you, as I mentioned, they probably have seen you either on television or, of course, been able to read your book. You talk a lot about this, and I love the fact, especially in your books, that you talk about relationships, but also the importance of purpose. I want to ask you about discovering your own purpose. When did you realize that this was the path that you were meant to walk, to be able to be in service of others?
It's so funny. I often describe it as stumbling into place. This was not my original journey, being a psychologist, being in the mental health profession. I actually wanted to be a medical professional. And then I discovered quickly in undergrad that I never wanted to see blood in my life. And so that I had to choose a different path, and it kind of naturally involved. I actually had professors when I was in college that told me that I should think about psychology and sociology and the other behavioral sciences, that I was really good with people and listening and things like that. And growing up where I grew up and where I'm from, I never saw psychologists, and I sure didn't see any that looked like me, not in real life, maybe a couple on TV. And so it was really my professors in school and then me beginning to read and, again, taking time to reflect on what are those things that I naturally love, who am I, what are my desires, my passions, and also my skills that are just innately there, and me being there for people, listening to people, and also kind of giving wise counsel has always been a part of who I am. And once I discovered that, then it was, as you mentioned, then me moving intentionally and with purpose. And when I began to do that, everything just opened up.
And you've been able to do it on so many different platforms, Dr. Holmes, in person, of course, but also through your books, through social media platforms. What has that been like for you to see how people have been impacted by the gift that you've been given and by what you've been able to share with them? What has that been like for you to kind of sit with?
If I'm honest, sometimes I'm amazed. I'm astounded because, again, this was not where I saw myself. I didn't expect it, but, I am forever grateful for the gifts that I've been given. I sometimes pinch myself to when I think about the things that I'm able to convey to people, the way that I'm able to deliver information in a way that people can relate to it, that they're receptive to it, and that I'm able to be myself. Like all of those things, I just feel that I'm blessed, and I desire to do this work, to be there to help people, to educate people, to increase access to resources, to share the knowledge that has been so freeing for me. Like I just think about it and I'm like, I want to do this for the rest of my life. I don't even think about retirement. I don't ever think I want to do that because I want to do this for the rest of my life. Of course, take time off, engage in self-care, but I just feel so grateful and so blessed that I've been able to do the work that I do.
Let's talk about that, what you talked about, the self-care, because that does lead us back to mental health. And I'm so glad, I have to say, as someone who dealt with depression in my early 20s, I'm so glad that it is not as taboo to talk about these days for men and women. There's still some that may feel the stigma of it, but I think the conversations have definitely widened out. What has that been like for you, Dr. Holmes, to see the way that people are becoming more comfortable with saying, you know what, I'm not okay?
I think that, as a Black African-American woman, one of the things that I've made my mission, or one of my missions, is to really decrease stigma and to talk about it. And I think that when you see more clinicians of color, more Black folks talking about it, it encourages those who've experienced it to talk about it and see that you can get help and that things can get better. And I think all of that really impacts the fact that there is less stigma. There's still stigma, but there's less stigma. I'm really excited about the conversation. I wanted to kind of lend my voice to larger platforms because I also think it's important, as people are talking about this, that it's important for professionals to dispel myths, because there's a lot of misinformation that goes around, or people who solely use their experience to try to teach other people how to beat something or how to deal with mental health challenges. And your experience is important, but your experience is not generalizable. So some of my colleagues are like, oh, you're doing radio, you're doing television, you're doing these things, which is not what we're taught to do in school. But I think that it's important that as we have these individuals who are not trained but have a story to tell, which I think is amazing, are out there, we also need professionals who are trained, who understand research, who understand latest treatments, and also like the progression of mental illness or different psychological challenges, to also provide accurate information and direct people to resources that can really help them when they're challenged or struggling. But I love the fact that we're talking about it openly now.
What has that been like for you, talking about resources, Dr. Holmes? What has that been like for you to know that your name is on a lot of these bells? I mentioned the books you've been able to write and, the information you've been able to share. What has that been like for you to see that you become one of those people that individuals can turn to for help?
It's really exciting. And I'm at a point in my life, in my career, and the things that I've seen manifest over my career that I'm like, ooh, what's next? Like, I think this is exciting. I see it as an expanded way to reach people who might not have access locally in their communities or in their towns or even in their churches. So it's been really, really exciting and also motivating,